They say marriage is for better or for worse. But I never imagined worse would mean being abandoned the moment I needed him most. I was in a hospital gown, tubes in my arm, and just hours after the doctor said the word cancer, my husband quietly removed me from his health insurance. No warning, no explanation, just a silent betrayal wrapped in a stack of paperwork. And the worst part? I didn't find out until the pharmacy cashier handed me a bill that could have paid for a car. My name is Nina Foster. I was 43rd, a mother, a wife, a part-time teacher who never missed a birthday or a dentist appointment. That morning started like any other. I dropped my son Adam off at school, kissed my husband Theo goodbye, and headed to my annual checkup. I'd been feeling tired lately, more than usual. But I chalked it up to late nights and lesson plans. The doctor frowned when he looked at my blood work. He ordered a few more tests, then he said, "Let's get a scan just to be safe." I'll never forget the way the room changed. The overhead lights suddenly felt too bright, the air too thin. My own body, foreign, stage 2, aggressive, but treatable with immediate attention. That word, immediate, echoed in my ears. Theo arrived at the hospital a few hours later. I was still in shock. He sat beside me, held my hand, and whispered, "We'll get through this." He told the nurse he was updating my insurance file to make sure everything was covered. I didn't even think twice about it. That was Theo. Reliable, organized, loyal, or so I believed. 3 days later, I went to pick up my first round of medication. Still woozy from the biopsy, still believing that Theo and I were facing this together. The pharmacist scanned the bottle, then frowned. It says here your insurance is inactive. Would you like to pay out of pocket?" I blinked. "What? That can't be right. My husband said everything was updated." He scanned again, checked twice. "Ma'am, it was canceled 3 days ago." The exact day I got my diagnosis. My hands trembled as I swiped my card, $1,276. I didn't even tell Theo right away. Somewhere deep down, I think I already knew. That night, after Adam went to sleep, I stood in the hallway and listened to Theo on the phone, his voice low, urgent. "No, she doesn't know. Not yet, I'll tell her soon." When he hung up, I walked into the room. "Tell me what, Theo?" He froze. His eyes darted to the door, then to his phone, then back to me. He said the words so casually I almost didn't register them. "I removed you from my plan. It was too expensive." I thought I misheard him. "Too expensive?" "Theo, I have cancer." He shrugged. "We have bills, Nina. Adam needs school supplies. We can't afford..." I stopped listening, because in that moment I realized something. This wasn't about money. This was about escape. The next morning, I found an envelope by the coffee maker. It had my name on it, his handwriting. Inside, divorce papers. Filed that same week. Filed while I was still at the hospital. Filed before he even told me the truth. I dropped the paper and just sat on the floor. Everything we built, 2 decades of marriage, raising a child, building a life, reduced to a signature and a quiet betrayal. And it wasn't even the worst of it, because 2 days later, someone knocked on my door, a woman holding a baby, and behind her, Theo. She looked nervous, young, maybe late 20s. She had the same eyes as Theo, but it was the way she looked at him, like she belonged, that made my stomach turn. He didn't say anything. She stepped forward. "I'm sorry, he told me you already knew." I didn't. Not yet. She glanced down at the baby in her arms, then back at me. She's his. Our daughter. I didn't cry, didn't scream. I just closed the door and slid down to the floor. The cancer wasn't what broke me. It was realizing that while my body had been fighting to stay alive, Theo had been planning a new life, without me in it. When someone betrays you, it's like the floor vanishes. But once the shock wears off, you either stay on the ground or you stand back up. And I wasn't done standing. He could take the insurance. He could even take the house. But he was not taking my dignity. I went to a legal aid office the next morning, still bandaged from my biopsy, still shaking from everything that had come to light. The woman at the front desk, older, kind eyes, handed me a clipboard. I didn't even know where to start. "I need a lawyer," I said, "and I don't have much time." Turns out, I had options. The cancer diagnosis made the insurance removal suspicious, and the timing of the divorce papers right after the diagnosis was even more damning. The lawyer, Marla Jennings, took my case. "You'd be surprised how many spouses do this," she said. "But you're not alone, Nina, and we're going to fight." Meanwhile, Theo moved fast. He moved in with her, the woman from the doorway. Vanessa bought a new apartment downtown, started flashing photos on social media, a picture-perfect new family. I couldn't help myself. I checked his page. There they were, Theo holding the baby, smiling. Captions like, "Fresh start, just us." Not a word about Adam, not a word about the wife he left in a hospital gown. I stopped scrolling, blocked the account, then deleted the app. Our son, Adam, was 15, old enough to know something was wrong, too young to understand why his father was suddenly someone else. "Did I do something, Mom?" he asked one night. "No," I said, choking back tears. "None of this is your fault." He nodded slowly. "But why'd he leave us?" I didn't have an answer, so I lied. "He's confused, but we'll be okay. We've still got each other." And we did. Adam started walking me to the pharmacy, made tea when I couldn't get out of bed. He became the man of the house, because the real one walked away. 1 week later, I got a letter in the mail from Theo's insurance provider. Policy change approved. Inside was a note that chilled me. It wasn't just a policy removal. Theo had signed an affidavit stating that I was no longer dependent on his plan. He wrote, "Nina Foster is healthy, financially independent, and not in need of continued support." That's when I snapped. He knew I was sick. He knew I was scared. And he lied on a legal document to wash his hands of me. I brought the letter straight to Marla. Her eyes narrowed. "This isn't just betrayal," she said. "This is fraud." We started digging into Theo's financials. Marla requested disclosures, bank records, tax returns. What we found made my skin crawl. He had 3 separate accounts, only one of them shared. The other 2? Hidden. One was titled Future Savings. The other, V+T Trust. V for Vanessa, T for Theo. There were transfers going back 3 years. Long before my diagnosis, long before the baby, he'd been planning this. Bit by bit, siphoning money out of our shared account and building a new life behind my back. I sat in the dark that night. My meds made my stomach churn. The weight of everything on the lies, the betrayal, the fear felt unbearable. But then Adam came in. He saw me curled up on the couch and he just wrapped his arms around me. "You're the strongest person I know," he whispered. "I don't care what Dad did, I'm here." That's when I made my decision. I wasn't going to let Theo write the ending to my story. I still had pages left, So I got back up. I called the court. I filed my own papers, contesting the divorce, suing for spousal abandonment, and reporting the insurance fraud. And most importantly, I started telling people, my friends, my church group, my sister, because silence is where shame hides, and I had nothing to be ashamed of. Marla called me on a Thursday. "We got it," she said. "A hearing is set for next month." Theo tried to delay it, tried to get it thrown out, but the evidence was too strong. When he showed up to the pre-hearing meeting, he acted cool, like none of it mattered. But I saw it in his eyes. He didn't expect me to fight back. The day after the hearing date was announced, I got a message on Facebook from Vanessa. It simply said, "I'm sorry, I didn't know the whole story." No punctuation, no follow-up, just that. I didn't reply, because it didn't matter. She wasn't the one who promised me forever. He was, and he broke it. I used to think betrayal was the worst pain in the world, but it's not. It's what comes after, the isolation, the fear, the unraveling of every memory you thought was real. But in that unraveling, I found something else. A version of me that Theo never saw coming. I walked into that courthouse with trembling hands, but a steel resolve in my chest. I wasn't here for revenge. I wasn't even here for justice. I was here to finally speak, to look him in the eyes and say, "You don't get to erase me." Theo sat across from me in the hearing room, polished suit, clean shave, not a hair out of place. I, on the other hand, had lost 15 pounds. My hair was thinning from treatment, but I wore my best black blazer, and I met his gaze with steady eyes. The judge began. Marla presented everything: the insurance cancellation, the hidden accounts, the falsified affidavit. Theo's lawyer tried to downplay it all. She was never dependent, he claimed. She had her own job. They were separating anyway. But when the judge turned to me and said, "Mrs. Foster, would you like to speak?" I stood. "I was diagnosed with cancer 3 weeks ago," I began. "And 4 days later, my husband removed me from our health insurance." I paused. No one breathed. He lied on legal documents. He told people I was healthy and independent, knowing full well I was scheduled to begin treatment. And he did it while moving in with the woman he got pregnant during our marriage. I looked at Theo. He didn't just leave, he planned his exit. He made sure I would have nothing. No coverage, no support, not even answers. The judge nodded slowly. That's when I knew. He heard me. Marla had one last card to play. She pulled out a document and handed it to the judge. It was an email, sent from Theo's work account to a private address. It read, "If I cut her off now, she won't last the year. That gets the divorce done faster and frees up the estate." The room went silent. Even Theo's lawyer looked shaken. It was a slip, a digital trail, and it exposed his real motive. This wasn't about love or even betrayal. It was about greed. The judge didn't wait long. He ruled in my favor. Theo would pay spousal support, cover all my medical expenses retroactively, face investigation for insurance fraud and financial misconduct. He looked stunned, like he still couldn't believe I'd fought back. But I didn't smile, didn't gloat. I just walked out of that courtroom, free. That night I sat on the porch with Adam. The sky was quiet, our neighborhood still. "Did you win?" he asked. I thought about that. "I survived," I said, "and I told the truth. That's enough for me." He leaned his head on my shoulder. "I'm proud of you, Mom." I held on to those words, because in the end, they mattered more than any court order. Theo tried to erase me with paperwork, but he forgot one thing. I wasn't built to disappear. Weeks later, I received an actual letter in the mail. From Vanessa. It was handwritten. I didn't know he was still married. I didn't know about the insurance. I thought I was his new beginning. Turns out I was just part of the plan. There was a P.S. I left him. I folded the letter and placed it in a drawer. That was the end of her chapter in my story. Life wasn't magically better. My body still ached. Bills still came. Some nights I still woke up crying. But slowly things grew quieter, and in that quiet I found peace. I joined a support group, started journaling again, and one morning Adam made breakfast, burnt toast and all, sunning, and said, "We're doing okay, aren't we?" I smiled. We really are. I won't pretend betrayal is something you get over. It changes you, but it also reveals you, shows you what you're made of. And I learned I was made of more than Theo ever gave me credit for. He tried to leave me with nothing, but I still had my voice, and that was enough to take everything back. There's a strange stillness that comes after war. No more lawyers, no more courtrooms, just the echo of what you survived and the question of who you are now. 6 months later, the chemo ended. I rang that bell in the hospital lobby with Adam at my side, my sister cheering through tears, and a nurse who whispered, "You were stronger than we thought." I wanted to believe her, but part of me still carried the wreckage. Theo hadn't just hurt me. He'd hollowed out pieces I didn't even know were there. It came one rainy afternoon. An unknown number. I answered on out of instinct, maybe. It was Theodore. "Nina, I know I don't deserve to ask you anything, but I just needed to say I'm sorry." I didn't say a word. "I messed up," he continued. "I thought I could build a new life, and all I did was burn the old one down." Silence. He waited, and finally I said, "I'm not angry anymore, Theo. But that doesn't mean I forgive you. It just means I'm done carrying your guilt." Click. That was the last time we ever spoke. That spring I started a garden, not a metaphorical one, a real one. Tomatoes, lavender, zinnias. I wasn't very good at it. But every morning I watered the plants. Every afternoon I pulled weeds. And one day I realized this was the first thing I'd grown with my own hands since Adam was a baby. It felt like reclaiming something, like stitching parts of me back together. Not perfectly, but honestly. Healing didn't come in one wave, it came in trickles. A laugh with a friend, a quiet breakfast, a moment where I didn't think about cancer or Theo at all. Those became victories. My story started to circulate. The court case, the insurance scandal. A local podcast asked if I'd be willing to talk. I almost said no. But then I thought of how many other women could be where I was, staring at bills, scared, confused, alone. So I said yes. I told the whole story. Not to shame Theo, not to gain sympathy, but to remind someone out there, you are not disposable. 2 years later, Adam stood on a stage in a blue gown. He was taller than me now, his voice deeper. I watched from the front row, healthy, present. He caught my eye and smiled. That smile. It was the same one that got me through hospital nights and courtroom mornings. My baby boy. I didn't just survive for me, I survived for him. So he would know strength didn't always look like powers, and sometimes it looked like refusing to give up. I wrote a letter one night to the woman I was a few years ago, the one crying on the bathroom floor, the one who got a diagnosis and a divorce in the same week. the one who thought her story was ending. You were never weak. You were never broken. You were just hurt. And one day that hurt became history, and you became something more. He took away my insurance, but he couldn't take away my will to live. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Told in Tears for more stories of survival, truth, and healing.